For over a decade, Canada's search for a new fighter jet has been a saga of political wrangling and military uncertainty. The process has been marked by shifting priorities, changing governments, and a constant tug-of-war between national security needs and fiscal responsibility. Each new administration promised a solution, but the debate only grew more heated, with every delay adding to the sense of frustration among both military leaders and the public. In 2022, the government announced plans to buy 88 F-35A Lightning II stealth fighters from Lockheed Martin, touting it as the only aircraft fit for Canada's vast Arctic and NATO NORAD commitments. Officials argued that the F-35's advanced stealth, sensors, and range were essential for defending Canada's northern frontiers and fulfilling international obligations. The announcement was framed as a bold step forward, promising to modernize the Royal Canadian Air Force and secure the country's place among its allies. But the F-35 deal was divisive from the start, dogged by controversy over its troubled development, soaring costs, and limited industrial benefits for Canada. Critics pointed to technical glitches, delays, and a price tag that seemed to climb with every passing year. Many questioned whether the investment would truly pay off, or if Canada was simply buying into a program plagued by setbacks. Critics argued that relying on an American jet meant ceding control over defense policy, and that Canada's unique needs might be overlooked in favor of U.S. priorities. There were also concerns about the long-term costs of maintenance and upgrades, which could tie Canada's hands for decades to come. Meanwhile, the promised jobs and contracts seemed vague and insufficient. Canadian aerospace workers and industry leaders worried that the economic benefits would be far less than advertised, with much of the high-value work staying south of the border. The procurement process, even after a formal competition, felt rigged in the F-35's favor, fueling public and political skepticism. Many wondered if alternative options were ever seriously considered, or if the outcome had been predetermined from the start. By 2025, with new trade tensions under President Trump, doubts about the F-35's reliability as a symbol of partnership resurfaced. The political climate made it harder to justify such a massive purchase from the U.S., especially as questions about sovereignty and independence grew louder. Prime Minister Mark Carney's government ordered a full review of the purchase, shaking the defense establishment. The review signaled a willingness to reconsider the deal and opened the door to new possibilities that had previously been dismissed. What seemed like a done deal was suddenly in jeopardy. The uncertainty sent shockwaves through the defense industry and left Canada's allies wondering what would come next. The debate was no longer just about jets, it was about sovereignty, jobs, and the future of Canada's defense. The country faced a crossroads, with its military, economy, and international reputation all hanging in the balance. The stage was set for a dramatic turn. As the government weighed its options, the nation watched, aware that the next decision could reshape Canada's defense landscape for a generation. No one expected the next move to come from Sweden. Yet, as the debate raged on, a surprising contender emerged, promising a new direction and reigniting the conversation about what Canada truly needed in a fighter jet. The F-35's biggest flaw: its cost. What was once hailed as a cutting-edge leap in military aviation has become a cautionary tale of runaway spending and shifting priorities. The original 2022 estimate for 88 jets was $19 billion, but by 2025, that number had ballooned to nearly $28 billion. Each new budget cycle seemed to bring more bad news, with costs climbing higher than anyone had anticipated. Add another $5.5 billion for infrastructure and training, and the lifetime costs soared into the tens of billions. The price tag wasn't just for the jets themselves, but for the entire ecosystem needed to support them: new hangars, simulators, and specialized maintenance crews. Delays in the review process threatened to push deliveries into the 2030s, risking a gap as the CF-18s aged out. The Air Force faced the real possibility of being left without a modern fighter for years, a scenario that alarmed both military planners and politicians. The government faced mounting pressure. What was supposed to be a strategic investment was now looking less like a game changer and more like a financial sinkhole. Critics questioned whether the country could afford to keep pouring money into a project with so many unknowns. Industrial benefits, once touted as a selling point, now seemed to be shrinking as costs rose. Promised jobs and contracts for Canadian companies were slow to materialize, and the economic boost, once envisioned, was fading. Industry Minister Melanie Joly voiced frustration over the lack of concrete Canadian jobs. She pressed for answers, demanding that commitments to local industry be honored, but the reality was proving disappointing. The deal was unraveling and the government was desperate for alternatives. Behind closed doors, officials scrambled to find a way out, reviewing proposals and weighing the risks of starting over. The F-35's spiraling price tag and uncertain benefits left the door wide open for a challenger. The search for a more affordable, reliable solution was on, and the stakes couldn't be higher for Canada's air defense. The question, could anyone offer a better deal? Enter Sweden, with a pitch that promised not just savings, but a new vision for Canada's future in the skies. In November 2025, Sweden made a stunning move that caught the attention of the entire defense world and sent shockwaves through Ottawa. King Carl XVI Gustaf, Queen Sylvia, and a delegation of Sweden's top officials arrived in Ottawa, not just for a ceremonial visit, but to launch an unprecedented royal campaign. Their mission, to personally pitch the Saab Gripen E fighter jet to Canada in a bid that was as much about diplomacy as it was about business. The Swedish offer went far beyond simply selling jets. It was a comprehensive defense industrial partnership, promising deep technology transfer, a Canadian assembly line, and a long-term commitment to shared innovation between the two countries. Saab pledged to create up to 10,000 high-quality Canadian jobs, spanning from advanced engineering to skilled manufacturing, and to invest in local talent and expertise. Major Canadian firms like Bombardier would be directly involved, opening doors for homegrown companies to play a central role in the nation's defense future. Unlike the F-35's sprawling global supply chain, Sweden's proposal was concrete and local, focused on building Canadian industry, jobs, and sovereignty, rather than sending contracts overseas. The Swedish pitch was carefully crafted to address every Canadian pain point: lower costs, more jobs at home, and greater national control over critical defense assets. The royal visit itself was a powerful symbol, underscoring Sweden's seriousness and commitment to forging a true partnership with Canada, not just a transactional sale. For a Canadian government facing mounting criticism over the F-35's delays, cost overruns, and technical issues, the Gripen offer arrived at a politically sensitive moment, one that made it almost irresistible. This was more than a sales pitch. It was a bold vision for partnership, independence, and a new era of defense collaboration between two nations. The government called it very interesting, a diplomatic understatement for what many saw as a game-changing proposal that could reshape Canada's defense landscape. Suddenly, the F-35 was no longer the only option on the table. Canada now faced a real choice, and the stakes had never been higher. Sweden's timing was no accident. The war in Ukraine had shifted Europe's security landscape, and Sweden was seeking partners to ramp up Gripen production. A recent deal with Ukraine to supply up to 150 Gripens made Canadian involvement even more strategic. Canada, a staunch supporter of Ukraine and home to a large Ukrainian diaspora, saw a chance to help arm Kyiv directly. A Canadian Gripen assembly line would boost production for both Canada and Ukraine, aligning domestic and foreign policy goals. The choice was no longer just about jets, it was about supporting democracy and shaping global security. The Swedish offer promised not just planes, but a new role for Canada on the world stage. The stakes had never been higher. At the heart of the debate, two radically different fighters. The F-35A is a stealthy fifth-generation powerhouse, built for high-tech warfare, data fusion, and deep integration with U.S. forces. Its stealth and sensors make it ideal for contested airspace and Arctic patrols, but at a steep cost. The Gripen E, a 4.5-generation jet, trades stealth for affordability, ease of maintenance, and advanced electronic warfare. It can operate from remote airfields, is cheaper to fly, and offers more flight hours for the same budget. Gripen's networking and NATO compatibility are strong, but it lacks the F-35's stealth edge. Proponents of the F-35 say only stealth will keep Canada safe against top-tier threats. Gripen. Advocates argue, most Canadian missions don't require stealth, and more affordable jets mean better readiness. The choice: a few elite stealth fighters, or a larger, more active fleet. Canada's future air power philosophy was on the line. As the Gripen offer gained traction, Canada's retired military brass pushed back hard. Former RCAF leaders, including ex-Chief Tom Lawson, warned that abandoning the F-35 would be a strategic blunder. They argued the F-35's stealth and sensor fusion were essential for modern warfare and NORAD integration. Switching to Gripen, they said, would create logistical chaos, split the fleet, and degrade combat effectiveness. Their message, the F-35 is the only real option for Canada's security and alliance commitments. The debate was no longer just political, it was a battle of military philosophies. Beneath the debate, time was running out. Canada's CF-18s in service since the 1980s were nearing the end of their lifespan. The RCAF was already stretching their use, risking a dangerous capability gap if replacements didn't arrive soon. The F-35 path, despite its flaws, was the fastest route to new jets. Switching to Gripen would mean starting over. New contracts, new assembly lines, and years of delay. The risk: Canada could be left without a viable fighter fleet, unable to meet its NATO and NORAD obligations. The government faced an impossible choice: speed and certainty, or long-term benefits and sovereignty. The clock was ticking. By January 2026, Canada stood at a crossroads. The F-35 offered alliance cohesion, proven tech, and a fast path to modernization, but at a staggering cost and with limited industrial returns. The Gripen promised jobs, technology transfer, and a new role in global security, but with major risks, delays, and potential rifts with the US. The government had to weigh loyalty against opportunity, certainty against ambition. Was it worth paying the price for the F-35's stealth and status, or was it time to seize a bold, new future with Sweden? The decision would define Canada's military, industry, and alliances for decades. The stakes, nothing less than the future of the Royal Canadian Air Force. The world was watching.